But there's one last step before they can start to rebuild her.
As you can see, we physically have stripped this car down to the point to where we're ready for sodium blasting next.
It's quick, it's strong, but not abrasive enough to damage the metal. And it's environmentally friendly to boot. It's baking soda. But this brand shouldn't be kept in the kitchen. It has enlarged particles and sharp edges. No good for baking cakes, but coarse enough to get a tough job done.
We're going to do the inside of this car, the outside, the underside. We're going to remove the undercoating and take off all the paint off the outside of the car. And it's going to take somewhere in the 4 to 7 hour range. So in 1 hour with this machine, we'll use one 50-pound bag of baking soda.
Until she's completely stripped down, they don't know for sure if the car will work. Now that she's had a once-over with the soda blaster, they can get a good look at all the bits and pieces and determine if this car body can be made roadworthy.
We've had some come in that after we sodium blasted, we've made the determination we don't want the car. And what we do to that, we usually take and cut up the better pieces of the car and just save them for the next car that comes along, and we'll just basically destroy that and throw it away, what's left, because it's just too far gone. And we've had 2 or 3 so far like that.
Got it?
I got to do one thing here and we can lift it up.
Hold on a minute. There you go.
Now they've removed the usable parts, it's time for the first phase of metal fabrication. They make room for new taillights. These originally came from a 1965 Thunderbird. But some parts can't be borrowed or copied. Certain design elements are strictly and absolutely Eleanor.
We had some really kind of righteous elliptical exhaust tips coming out of the rockers that were kind of one-offs that we made. They weren't practical on the movie cars. It's tricky because there's not a lot of clearance under the unibody to get the pipes exiting on the side on a Mustang. You know, it's really, we lowered them and there's not a lot of space for them to come across over under the unibody and exit the sides. So I really don't know how they tackled that with the cars that are in production today, basically.
They did it by cutting straight through the sill. Another design element that's all Hollywood, the petrol cap.
The stock Shelby, correct me if I'm wrong, is between the taillights for where the gas fill normally goes. We wanted something a little racier, a little more dynamic, you know. And again, it differentiates the stock Shelby from Eleanor.
They'll move the petrol cap to the sail panel and attach it to a new 56-litre fuel cell instead of a metal fuel tank. These brake vents are elements that stay true to the Mustang's original design. On certain models of the first breed of Mustang, these vents were strictly ornamental. When Shelby made his GT models, he installed a functional version. But these soon became the victims of budget cuts.
In '65, everything was functional. Air scoops, all that stuff was functional. '66, semi-functional. '67 and '8, not so functional anymore.
On the movie version of Eleanor, the brake vents were strictly for show. But true to Carroll Shelby's original vision, the brake vents on her latest incarnation are real and do work.
All right, now we got our final piece for our side brake cooler. We're gonna go ahead and weld it in place. It'll be ready to cool those brakes off.
Good thing, because racing brakes can get hot, reaching temperatures of over 800 degrees centigrade. When the car is at the right height, it's easy to install the brake coolers. But the right angle is equally important, and for that, the crew puts the car on a rotisserie.
You're not hallucinating. The car is upside down. It's on a rotisserie. We always install this with a headache rack, 4-point roll bar. It is welded to the bottom torque box, and the 4-point is welded to the wheel tubs. Now, you won't see this when the car is finished. It does have an interior panel over it.
But a new interior panel isn't the only thing she'll have. When it's finished, The car will also be rolling with a lot more horsepower. The car's original engine was a junior-sized 160 horsepower version. To accommodate the monster motor these guys plan to install, they'll need to brace the car's unibody.
Let me see a pry bar real quick. Yeah, pry bar and a hammer. This is the subframe connector. We put this in here to connect the front subframe to the back subframe and strengthen the whole underside of the car.
And once that's done, she'll be ready for the ultimate Hollywood accessory. A 475 horsepower engine that can hit speeds the '65 Mustang could only dream of. All of that power under the bonnet is too tempting for a true car enthusiast to pass up. And American baseball star Jason Giambi is no exception. He's come all the way to Texas to the Unique Performance Hot Rod Shop, where they turn old Mustangs into real-life versions of Eleanor. Once he gets in the driving seat, he's hooked.
When it hits 2,500 RPMs,
Yeah.
be strapped in, because that's the magic number. It puts you in your seat.
It's just going to
set you back.
my chest and
Well,
back in the
you'll
seat.
take off and you'll go, well, and then when you hit 2,500, I think that
Just jumps in,
kicks in and you're gone.
Jason's got a whole fleet of custom right in his garage, but he still wants Eleanor.
You know, I have a Ferrari and Lamborghinis, but I've always wanted a muscle car. You know, there's nothing that sounds like when you crank it over and, you know, you jump on it and everything.
Check this out.
So I'm all fired up. Yeah, I went with the big one, too. I got everything. Super Snake.
Just when he's ready to take her home, he spies Eleanor's big sister, the Super Snake.
They brought it down to spring training for me in Florida, in Tampa, at the Yankees complex, for me to drive, just to show me what car I, was getting, because they were all fired up that I bought one. So I went down there, they gave me the car, and I was like, kid on Christmas, to drive it around. And first day, I pulled it into the parking lot. Derek Jeter and those guys, they got, Ferraris and there's Porsches in there, but nobody cared about it. All they cared about was that car. Everybody wanted to have me crank it over, jump on it a few times, burn up the tires a little bit. And it just got me fired up, going, God, I can't wait to get mine. And then they said, at the end of me driving it for a couple days, they came up to me saying, by the way, yours has got 250 more horsepower than the one you've been driving around. So I'm probably going to kill myself, but it'll be a lot of fun.
The two cars look alike from the outside. Same color, same nose, same body. The real difference is under the bonnet.
This car doesn't get any better. This is our Super Snake. 427 big block aluminum engine in it with a Vortex supercharger. Total horsepower, 725. If you can't get where you're going in this, you can't get anywhere. A serious collector would get this car. We're only making 75 of these. Well, the most fun about these cars, I think, is when you push the gas, it's going to go. And it sounds, too. You pull up to a light and you have one of those guys with the little bitty cars that sound like that, and you throw this one in gear, no contest. Good night. Go ahead and fire it up. That's sick right there. 725 horsepower is sick.
The classic American muscle car, the Ford Mustang, is no stranger to Hollywood. She's been in some 500 movies, opposite leading men such as Sean Connery's James Bond, Kevin Costner, Harrison Ford, and Tom Hanks. A 68 Mustang GT390 Fastback saw 10 of the most exhilarating minutes in movie history when she co-starred with Steve McQueen in the thriller Bullet.